We would like to welcome you to the multi-stakeholder dialogue on using technology to promote employee wellness and well-being. This dialogue is part of the ongoing Sustainability Week campaign. My name is Iman Al-Madani and I will be your MC for today. We have an exciting event lined up for you today. The multi-stakeholder dialogue will bring together a number of very interesting case studies from the private and public sectors where they will identify what technological solutions are available to enhance employee wellness and well-being strategies. After the case studies have been presented, we will be opening this platform for the multi-stakeholder discussion where you will get an opportunity to discuss and share the tools and solutions you use and benefited from for others to learn from. Before we dive into the event, I would like to invite to the platform Dr. Kamal Melahi, Senior Manager of the Center for Responsible Business at Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to give the welcome remarks. Welcome, Dr. Kamal.
Thank you, Iman. Good morning, and on behalf of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a warm welcome to attend today's Sustainability Week 2020 Multi-Stakeholder Dialogue event. This year, Dubai Chamber Sustainability Week is focusing on employee health and well-being as we explore the theme of employee health and happiness, healthy employees, healthy business. We kicked off the Sustainability Week 2020 on the 8th of November, this Sunday, with a CEO dialogue. We had 4 CEOs, leading CEOs, that gave us their insights and experience and advice on how to develop and nurture a healthy workplace during COVID-19. Yesterday, we held a roundtable discussion on employee health and well-being, focusing on remote working and the physical, psychological, and professional aspects of working from home. Today is the turn for our multi-stakeholder dialogue. The aim of today's event is to bring together different stakeholders from the private and public sectors to identify what technological solutions are available to enhance employee wellness and well-being strategies, as well as identify the key benefits and challenges that are present when introducing these technologies. Recently, we have seen a significant rise in the development and adoption of wellness technology solutions to help organizations and individuals to improve the health and well-being of their employees. I think we all agree that the potential for wellness technology is vast, and its use is still open to discussion. If used properly, it creates a holistic overview of employee health and will have a tremendous impact on our well-being and well-being of employees and happiness. Before handing over to our keynote speaker, I would like to thank you all for being with us today, and I wish you all pleasant and informative discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamal. And now I would like to call in our keynote speaker, Ms. Alia Al-Mulla, Director of the National Program for Happiness and Well-Being at the Office of the Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates. Ms. Alia is a policymaker with more than 17 years of experience. She was instrumental in curating the UAE's Guide to Happiness and Well-Being in the Workplace, as well as its companion, Wellbeing in the Workplace Toolkit. Alia leads strategic partnerships and drives evidence-based policies and programs to support the UAE government's Vision 2071, which aims to incorporate technology, data science, positive psychology, mental health, and human longevity in the plan. So without further ado, welcome Alia to this platform.
Thank you, Iman, for your kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Ali Al-Mulla, Director at the UAE's Prime Minister's Office, and I'm happy to be here and to contribute to discussions on well-being and the many ways in which we can enhance it as individuals, as employers, and as policymakers. Well-being is not new to our culture. Our founding father, Sheikh Zayed, His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, had always said, "My wealth is my people's happiness." In 2016, I started my formal journey into the art and science of happiness and well-being with the creation of the Happiness and Well-being Ministerial Portfolio. Our visionary Prime Minister, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, appointed the first Minister of Happiness and Well-being, who is now the Minister of Government Development and Future. In those early days, there was a lot of conception and misconceptions around the most basic of concepts, and even a guinea in a bottle kind of expectations of what we were there to do and deliver. Next slide, please. Under the umbrella of the National Program for Happiness and Wellbeing, we set about exploring and deep diving into the latest science, literature, and technological enablers related to well-being. We reached out to the world-leading experts and developed our own framework and guide to happiness and well-being. It was important for us to define happiness and well-being and create a guide that speaks to our unique culture, context, and diverse workplaces in the UAE. Next slide, please. In these coming slides, you see the definitions of happiness and well-being. First, we will define happiness in two aspects. The first aspect is experiential, which refers to one's emotional state in the moment. How are you feeling in the moment? And the experience of positive emotions such as joy, excitement, love, hope, and amusement. And the more positive emotions you have, the good it is stored in your amygdala and you will need them for the future. So it's good for the body physiology and for the brain to have all the positive experiences and emotions. That does not mean you don't need to have negative emotions. It's important for the body as well, but the more positive experiences you have, the better for your well-being. The second aspect is evaluative, in which individuals reflect on past feelings of happiness and how they contribute to overall satisfaction in life. The next slide, we define well-being, which is how people evaluate their lives as a whole, if they have sense of contentment in life, the degree of autonomy and control they have over their lives, and from where they drive their sense of purpose and meaning. Well-being is also how people function both personally and socially. Next slide, please. I want to briefly share with you our framework for happiness and well-being at workplace. It's a public document. You will find it if you Google it, you will find it easily. So if you want more information, please feel free to explore through the guide. As you can see, the framework sets as a guiding principle for our work forward. It's a human-centric approach. Next slide. And here we focused on main pillars, which kept on repeating in all the literatures we mapped out. So there are four main pillars we focused on. First of all, purpose and meaning. Does the employee wake up every day in the morning, have a purpose and meaning in life and at work? What is the employee's narrative within the bigger narrative of the organization, and how the value they add to the organizational purpose? These are important questions. What are the employees' values comparing to the organization's values? Are they aligned with the organization's value or not? Health is one of the main important determinant of well-being, whether it's physical health, mental health, environmental, the connection between the mind and body, the gut is very important. Ergonomics, the space you are working in is very important, exposing to sunlight. All these are important aspects. And let's not forget financial well-being as well, and also social relationship. Social relationship is very important at work. The social capital you hold at work, it determines your well-being. The quality of the relationship you have, the positive relationship you have with your subordinate, colleagues, and boss is very important. And also we encourage in the UAE to have more of growth mindset. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid always speaks about growth mindset. So we got inspired from his book. He speaks about employees in the government need to try new things, create new things. Even if they fail, they get up to better people and thrive at work and become more resilient. And this is how we grow. We don't want people who have fixed mindset, but we want to have people who have growth mindset in the government. Next slide, please. So following this foundational work, we continue to launch programs and a toolkit, which is a practicum of the framework and initiatives. Among them was the Chief Wellbeing Officers Program, effectively training and placing 150 change agents in the whole government. We have around 40 plus federal entities and ministries. Next slide. We also started to systematically and regularly measure happiness and well-being in the federal government, specifically around the parameters specified in the guide, which I shared with you earlier. They were added to our minister's key performance indicators and are closely watched by the Prime Minister himself. Next slide. Now, additionally, in my capacity at the Prime Minister's office, I launched a living lab where I run experiments and try unique concepts and ideas to help us better understand our environment. What are the unique drivers of well-being in our office and the government, since we are here to consider how to harness technology to improve health and well-being? I will share with you a brief experiment I ran in one of our entities in the government. Employees came to me and said they are stressed. And when I asked them, define stress, I received different answers. So I said, let me hack your brains and get the answers. Next slide, please. So we partnered with a bioinformatic boutique Silicon Valley startup, and we recruited around 40 staff volunteers among 230 staff. 40 of them volunteered for the study. And we asked them to fill a self-assessment questionnaire asking, among other things, about their stress levels. Then we fitted the volunteers with a headgear, which is an EEG, a neuro headset, and went about measuring their brain waves over a 3 weeks period during working hours. There was a scientific protocol, of course, developed for this experiment, and we worked closely with a neuroscientist. Next, please. Let me share with you a few interesting facts we learned from this experiment. The number one surprise was that there was a noticeable misalignment between people who report being stressed and their actual stress levels, as measured by the computer. Put simply, some staff were reporting no or low levels of stress, but their physiological data was telling a completely different story. And in other cases, the reverse was true. The data showed also that in this office specifically, 10 a.m. was the time when people seemed to be at their sharpest and most focused. Hence, we recommended to reserve this time for strategic thinking, brainstorming, and key meetings. We also noticed a burst of increased activity and focus around 1 p.m., which was again surprising given that it is usually associated with post-lunch energy dip. However, people reported feeling calmer and more collected following their maybe prayer quiet time out. Next slide, please. We learned that Tuesday is the most productive day of the week as measured by brain activity, and Dubai Chamber did well choosing this day. This is aligned with an existing global study also measured that the same result, that midweek is the best week for productivity and people being focused. Also, I guess this did not come as a surprise. We noticed that women showed much higher level of physiological stress than men, most likely owing to their disproportionate shouldering of family and work responsibilities and balancing between work and life responsibilities. Next slide. Finally, over time, volunteers were better able to focus when they repeated the meditations, practices, and sessions over 3 weeks. All of these findings helped us better understand patterns of productivity, the levels of stress, and its distribution across the organization, and confirmed a very important fact for me. No more generic well-being prescriptions, no one size fits all. We are all unique and our needs are different. It is so critical to understand where each employee is, what they need to thrive at work, and what they value most. You increase well-being by understanding and tailoring your well-being investments in ways that give the organization and the employee the highest returns in terms of higher well-being and higher productivity. Last December, we launched the Business for Wellbeing Council, bringing together both the private and the public sector to focus on workplace well-being. We have around 9 biggest employers in the UAE as board in the council, and we wanted to understand how different sectors adapt their well-being practices to suit their unique operating environments and job demands. We also commissioned a survey on the state of well-being in the private sector, which is helping us understand some of the most salient issues in workplaces across the UAE. You can find the full report if you're interested to read more about it on www.hw.gov.ae. So hw.gov.ae, and I can send it to our colleagues at Dubai Chambers to share them with you. So we continue to trial a range of tech-enabled tools and apps to nudge employees or help them take care and be more self-compassionate to their mental and physical health. There is so much tech for good that can be used to improve our quality of life. It is constantly evolving and exciting space. However, we also need to be very careful and mindful of protecting privacy and data integrity. Putting safeguards in place to prevent misuse is absolutely critical. If we lose trust and engagement due to misuse, then these technologies will cease to serve any useful purpose. Finally, let's not forget or entirely delegate our human-to-human relationships and communications to technology, but rather let's harness its power to help us work and live better and stay connected. Thank you all for listening. I would like to thank the Dubai Chambers, Iman and Charles. Thank you for the opportunity to share my work and thoughts with you today, and I look forward to the discussions that will follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alia, for this very interesting presentation. Quite a wealth of information there. If you want another brain to be hacked, please invite me. I don't mind doing that. Now we will be moving on to our first case study presentation on the tools and solutions used to support health. The case study will be presented by Emily Franklin, who leads corporate wellness projects for a UAE-based digital wellness platform called Steppy. By utilizing the latest technology, Emily helps businesses, governments, and educational facilities lead more active and healthy lives. So welcome to the platform, Emily.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Eman. It's a pleasure for me to be here today, and thank you to Dubai Chamber for inviting me to talk at the Sustainability Week event. I'm just going to, sorry, one step. Just going to share my screen. Okay, hopefully everybody can see.
Yes, we can see your slides.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about Steppy and the benefits of digitalizing your corporate health programs. So we start with a question: how healthy is your workforce? Do you know how active your employees and colleagues really are? And how can you use technology to inspire healthy behavior at work and at home? So to give you a brief introduction to the Steppy digital wellness platform, Steppy is a local...
Sorry, Emily, we can see your notes there. Do you want to expand the slides? Yeah.
Sorry, one second. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
One second. Let me just start this again. Sorry.
Sorry. We're talking about technology. This is what we're seeing. It's normal.
Okay. So let me just share the screen. Okay, so let me just share the screen again. Sorry about that. Okay, can everybody see?
Yes, now it's clear.
Perfect.
Without the notes, yes.
Okay, perfect. To give you a brief introduction on Steppy, Steppy is a digital wellness platform designed to inspire and encourage and motivate employees to be healthy and active. So we have a software solution that connects to individuals' mobile phones, and we connect people's activity via a fitness tracker or through the application on the mobile phone. So our aim is to be as inclusive as we can be for everybody. So some of the benefits of a digitalized wellness program are we build positive work cultures, so that we find, especially this year with people working remotely and due to the global pandemic, that creating fun challenges internally really boosts morale and creates a positive environment. And you can take part in the activities from wherever you are, from at home or at work or even traveling abroad. Also combating work-related stress. So work-related stress is a growing problem. It not only affects the health and well-being of the employee, but also the productivity of the business. So studies have proven that just by being more active will lift your mood, increase energy, and also sharpens focus. So the magic number is around 10,000 steps. And if you've downloaded the Steppy app, you'll see that a lot of our education is around achieving a 10,000 step goal every day. So this would equate to approximately 30 minutes of additional exercise and can be achieved anywhere. So we encourage people to think about their own activity throughout the day. How long are they sitting down for? How long do you drive to work? Is there any way that you can increase your activity throughout the day? We also see a reduction in healthcare costs. So when employees are engaged on a wellness program, it shows that there is a markable reduction in sick days and also presenteeism, which is when people are at work but they're not focused. So we see that engaging people, encouraging them to be active, really has benefits overall for a company, and also creating new relationships. So this is a really important one. So we find that our corporate clients on Steppy Active program, they report back to us that people are, they have a renewed energy at work. So they have, we've seen the CEO of a company having fun and talking about how active they are on the challenge and the leaderboard and how many steps they've taken that day, all the way through the company. So it really creates new connections and new relationships. So what we aim to do is to combine the traditional corporate wellness approach with a data-driven technology. So people, for example, many companies have events that they run throughout the year, so activities, and it could be a walk or a run for the company. So what we try to do is combine the traditional methods and back it up with technology and data. So on Steppy, you can create private internal challenges. So employees can see real-time results on the interactive dashboard, and the admin for the platform can view companies' individual metrics and activity data. So for example, using the power of data, you can see who is the most active person in the company. You can use this to praise people and reward them for taking part. And then within the app, you can cheer colleagues and exchange messages from people within your team. So the power of data. So as I mentioned, what we want to do is combine traditional wellness with like the future of technology. So when you understand the individual data for your company, you can understand more about your organization's fitness persona. So this is really important when you are strategizing around, how can we engage employees? How can we encourage them to take part and be more active? So through understanding the data, you can see what percentage of your company are classed as inactive, and maybe they need some encouragement to be more active. You can also see what percentage of your company is classed as really active. So somebody that's inactive will not have the same needs as somebody that is super active. So you can really define your company's fitness persona, and you can create a wellness strategy based on the data. And you can see progress in real time. So what we do is we start with a benchmark. So we use the data to understand the company's overall fitness data, and then we use that to establish progress in real time throughout the program. So you can use this progress to understand how your wellness and fitness initiatives are impacting the business overall and over a period of time. You can also communicate with employees easily through notifications and email. So you can combine, like I said, your traditional wellness events through the one application, and then you can use the data to understand how well that's worked within the company. So a big part of what STEPI does is we reward people for being healthy. So we know that incentivizing people to be active can increase engagement and activity by as much as 50%. So if anybody has downloaded the STEPI app, you will see that we have partnered with some of the region's leading brands to offer rewards for our users for being active. So for example, you can exchange 10,000 steps for 50% off your next healthy lunch, or you could exchange activity for a weekend activity with your family at an adventure park, or ice skating, or you know, there's a whole host of different rewards that you can get on the STEPI app. So as well as the private corporate challenges, we also host a number of community fitness initiatives. So this year, we're really proud to be hosting the Dubai Fitness Challenge 3030 Corporate Challenge. So hopefully everybody has been taking part in the challenge so far. We're just over a week in. But so far we have just over 60,000 people recording activity onto the challenge every day, which is amazing. We've so far recorded 1 billion steps in just over a week, and we have 624 companies active on the challenge. So yeah, so as well as using the data to provide insights into your internal corporate wellness initiatives, we also have a wider community. So we encourage the whole of the UAE to take part in fitness initiatives on the application. So thank you very much. Thank you to Iman. Thanks for having me. I'll be staying around to answer any questions in the session after the talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Emily, for sharing your case study. And definitely, at the Chamber, we're using the STEPI application for our Dubai Fitness Challenge campaign, and we're finding it very user-friendly so far. So thank you for working very hard to make that happen. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Tonia Sarwar from Cisco, who will be presenting her case study example on the benefits and challenges of technology. Tonia has more than 15 years of experience in human resources. She currently supports the Cisco Middle East sales function and serves as a consultative business partner. Tonia is passionate about leadership development, driving a courageous culture, and promoting inclusion and diversity. So welcome to the platform, Tonia.
Thank you so much, Iman. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm just going to also share my slides. Okay. Let me know when you've got that.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I think that's it. Okay. So I think, like many of you in the audience today, Cisco found itself on a journey to really look at how we could promote and encourage employee wellness and well-being. And I think it's a journey, and I think many of us are at different stages of that journey, and that's fine. So if today you're coming to discover new opportunities or ideas, or indeed, you know, potential technology platforms that are in the market like STEPI, then that's great. Some of you may already be well along the journey and looking to try and complement and amplify some of the work and the techniques you're doing. So I think forums and discussions like this are great because for so many of us, we are at different stages, and I think it's a constantly evolving journey that we're on, and particularly now under the current pandemic situation, I think things are becoming certainly much more focused on how are we going to look at these topics now and then into the future. So I want to spend the next few minutes talking to you about Cisco's journey into well-being and wellness, and it's been a positive journey, but we've definitely had our challenges along the way. And I definitely want to be open and transparent and share with you how we've overcome some of those challenges. And it's namely around how do we make, something like wellness stick into the organization, and how can we embed it as part of our overall culture. So the first topic is culture, and I think, and I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to focus on the cultural aspect of the strategy before you start anything. And I think, you know, many of us have heard that culture can eat strategy for breakfast, and that really rings true. We spent a lot of time trying to build, develop, and embed the company culture at Cisco. And I feel if we hadn't spent enough time, if we had glossed over, or if we had tried to, you know, go faster on the culture and get to the execution and the initiatives, then I think it becomes even harder to make initiatives like Wellbeing really be integrated into the company ecosystem. So we deliberately went slow, and we focused on these 3 pillars that you can see on the screen here. The environment, crucial, and I'm not talking about just the office space, although that is also, you know, it's important in terms of, you know, the area that we want to work in. But it was really around how do we create a space that is inclusive, that is diverse, where we can have open conversations, where we can eliminate fear and be our authentic selves. When you're in an organization of about 80,000 employees across the world with different cultural nuances, different experiences of leaders and teams, that's not as easy to implement as it sounds. So that did take some really heavy lifting. And I can probably say the role modeling from the executive leadership team really helped us to start to pave the way for a future that Cisco wanted, which was a really open and inclusive environment. The second pillar is around trying to understand what are the characteristics, what makes Cisco stand out versus another vendor or another technology organization in the market. What makes people want to join Cisco? What makes people want to stay at Cisco? So I think those characteristics are really defining what our core value systems are, our beliefs are, and ensuring that we have the right rituals in place to make sure that, again, we're living out those values. You know, one of the values we have, which I love at Cisco, is give your ego a day off. So what we're saying there is yeah, just when you're getting into a meeting, or if you're going to be on a project, leave the ego at the door and then really lean in. You have to walk the walk as well as do the talking. So I think embedding that and giving it time to really build out the company behaviors is really important. And then the final pillar to our sort of culture strategy is the experience. Again, very well-known saying is that people don't leave companies, they leave managers or they leave leaders. My experience of Cisco is what counts. It doesn't matter that maybe we've got great slides at a global level, we've got great vision and strategy that we're able to you know, illustrate and demonstrate who we are. That doesn't make any difference to me if my own personal experience Cisco does not show up and match up to that. So my experience on my team with my manager and my peers is critical. So we had to, again, focus very, very strongly on making sure that our leaders and our leaders of leaders were completely on board with us in terms of what we wanted to try and build and develop at Cisco. So what we came up with is this conscious culture, and the word conscious is really important because it really demonstrates that each and every one of us is part of bringing this culture to life. It's not up to the executive leaders, it's not up to the managers, it's up to each and every one of us. So where we see good practice, we amplify it, we share it, and we steal it with pride. And when we see bad practice or bad behaviors, then again, we take the responsibility and the accountability to try and correct and potentially course correct on that. So, you know, I spent quite a few minutes, and I've done that deliberately because I think one of the things that many companies struggle with is to try and implement a policy or implement a practice without having created the foundation. And so any time that you can spend on either building it or to continue to amplify and to continue to voice what that culture is, I think is always time incredibly well spent. So that's the cultural foundation. Once we were ready and we felt as a company we were aligned on what we wanted to do, it was then that we started to look at, you know, sort of health, well-being and wellness for employees. And like the STEPI app, we wanted to really link it into our technology. We are a technology company, so many of the HR work that we do, from hiring to development, is done on a technology platform. So we needed to have something that would be in line with how we want to operate and see ourselves as a company. So we came upon the Wellbeing initiative, which we felt was right for Cisco. It was a foundation that really helped us to look at all aspects of our life. So as we went through our cultural journey, we spoke a lot about the work-life balance, and so much has been talked and discussed about work-life balance. And as a company, we realized it's not about the balance, it's about the integration. Because, so I think earlier said it, one size does not fit all. And my work-life balance might be very different to yours. I might prefer to work all the way in the evenings and have some time in the day for my children when they're coming home from school. So that balance is very different for each of us. So we moved from work-life balance to work-life integration. And then we moved to the next step, which was just take out the balance and the integration. Let's just call it life. Because, and especially now, it is all now integrated, mingled, jumbled up together. How we are at home and work has no boundaries. So now let's look at our employees, not from the lens of work and home. Let's look at them in a holistic way as just one. And that is, how do we show up? How do we help each other? How do we support each other through life, this thing called life? So we looked at this strategy around the Wellbeing initiative, and we looked at the third point, which was around the 4 elements. We focused on 4 elements, which was eat, sweat, think, and connect. Very self-explanatory. Eating was really around, you know, sort of dietary habits, healthy eating, clean eating. Sweat is all around physical exercise. Thinking was around how can we provide our employees with the expertise, the know-how, the knowledge content to help them to make the right decisions that they need to make for them and their families. And the final piece was, how can we connect within the company and then also outside? And how do we make sure that that is embedded into the culture that I described? How is it embedded into our values, into our experience within our teams? And how can that all be a conscious movement for all the employees at Cisco? So I think it was a great start. And like many things, it takes time to get moving. And I think the word here I'd like to use is communities. We focused to try and to really raise the profile of the importance of this and the focus on this. We use Cisco communities, and those communities could be anything from the female network group, the early and career network group, leaders and managers, anywhere that we could find communities to try and leverage their expertise and their voice to try and cascade the message. And we tried to bring as many people into the program as we could, using very similar things that I think Stepi outlined earlier. You know, we've got live events, workshops to help people connect on like-minded topics, whether it is, you know, help me to understand the new fitness regime, to connecting with people who are experts in the market in terms of how to balance, you know, sorts of weight loss programs with everyday life. So we have this technology platform that has become almost a living and breathing platform, very much like you would imagine any social media sites. We have people posting pictures, recipes, people writing blogs, and we needed it to be self-fulfilling and not something that needed to have really the program specialist to move it. It doesn't always work like that. You'll always find some members of the organization that are always going to lean in. They're naturally more interested in topics that are related to health and well-being, but then you'll have a whole ton of people that are not. So one of the challenges we had was, okay, how can we get people to just start, just to click on the link and just to start on one particular aspect of the 4 elements that we talked about of eat, sweat, think, and connect. And we were very deliberate that we wanted to just have tiny steps. So let's not give ourselves huge expectations and goals. Just do one thing. If that one thing is to make sure you have a 30-minute walk in the day to just get away from the screen and your desk, incorporate that into your routine. If it means to reduce your coffee intake by 1 or 2 a day, just introduce that into the routine. So we wanted to really focus on what prevents people from taking that first step. And we then started to build a number of different interventions, workshops, where we could bring people together and almost, you know, put their hand up and say, yes, I can do 30-minute walk during the day, or I can try and, you know, avoid eating X, Y, Z in the evening. Whatever it was, we needed to try and bring the community together to commit on that one thing. And so taking that first step for us was an area that we really wanted to focus on. And we provided materials and guides and, like I said, workshops where we helped people take the first step. That's always the hardest step. Once you've taken the first, the second and third step becomes slightly easier. The second challenge we had was, okay, great, we've got people that are doing some wonderful things around taking responsibility around their health and well-being. How can we now really make sure that that first, second, third step sticks? How can we make it sticky so that it becomes not only a behavior, it moves into a ritual. It becomes part of their everyday. Opening a laptop is the same as making sure I have my 30-minute workout in the morning, or that I have time to connect with a family member in the evening. We wanted to build it into the work pattern that we have. I talked earlier about many different platforms at Cisco that we're using to complement and integrate HR work. One of the areas that we felt was lacking was the connection time between manager and employee, particularly if there are managers that have many employees in a team scenario, or if we have managers in one geographical location and then employees in another, which at Cisco we have many of these cases. So one of the things that we felt, and we could see from the data coming back from engagement studies, was that people were not meeting enough with their leaders and managers. This led to, you know, confusion of roles and duties. This led to anxiety and stress. So something as simple as ensuring that we have that tight connection with managers was critical. So about 3 years ago, we launched a digital platform called TeamSpace. It was basically an opportunity for people to use on their desktop or their phones to check in with their managers, to share with their managers on a weekly basis what their main goals were for the week. And then at the end of the week to kind of close on the week and tell them what their highs of the week were and what the not so good parts of the week were, allowing managers to use that data to set, you know, new tasks or to reduce some tasks based on the strengths and based on the motivation of the employee. So this has been going on really well for Cisco and has really increased that spike of connection between their leaders, the leaders and their teams. But we saw this as a great opportunity to bring the wellness priorities into the weekly priorities as well. So when I go in and check in for the week and I say I have a presentation with the Dubai Chamber, I'll also put I need to make sure that I focus on the 30 by 30 challenge, or that I make sure that I'm phoning my parents a lot this week because it's their 50th wedding anniversary, and I want to make sure that every day leading up to the weekend I can connect with them. I put that in, my manager reads it. There's an immediate connection again between me and my manager, but also gives me some accountability and responsibility for the goals that I'm setting. So along with the presentation, I'm also putting the exact same weight and importance to my own health and well-being. And together with my leader, I can make sure that that then becomes something that I do as a habit, which becomes a ritual every week. So this really helped us with the stickiness as well, in terms of making sure that it was embedded into the integrated workday routine. So I've spoken really about three main topics. Firstly was don't underestimate the importance of building the right culture in the organization. If you don't, anything that we've tried in the past just doesn't land. So we've had to take steps back, rebuild, and make sure that foundation is strong. I've talked about how the importance of a digital platform and how in today's world that just makes it easier for us to connect and share and learn on one space. But the challenge with that is, how do you get people to that space? And we use communities to help drive and leverage people to come together. Based on that also, we help people to take the first step. The first step is always hard, and we used interventional workshops to help people to just make a very, very small change to the routine to help them on the eat, think, sweat, and connect elements. And the final piece that I've just shared now is, how do we make sure that what we say we do is integrated into our weekly priority, so that it becomes all of me. It isn't the work Tonya versus the home Tonya. It's all of me that Cisco sees and my manager also sees. So I think with that, there are some interesting learnings. How do we measure? How did we do? Well, I'm really delighted to report that last year we won Global Great Place to Work, which I think is an achievement for a multinational over a number of countries. And as I said, close to 80,000 employees. The good news is that we've just won it again. So 2 years in a row, we've won Global Great Place to Work. And I'm sure that some of the things that I've talked about today has contributed to that success. And we are now just waiting to build on that. So I'm really looking forward to the dialogue that we have. I'm always curious to learn what other organizations and companies are doing, so that we can constantly build, rebuild, evolve what we're doing. Because as we know, there is absolutely no room for just, static, one size fits one approach. We need to make sure we're moving with the times, and nothing more so than right now with everything that's going on. So thank you very much. I think I'm out of time. So I'm going to pass it back to Iman, and I'm really looking forward to the continuing dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tonya, for sharing your case study, and congratulations on winning the Global Great Place to Work Award again. You have quite an impressive health and wellness program that's linked to technology and other innovative solutions, and I hope we can all learn from that and implement within our organizations. Again, I would like to thank all our speakers, Ms. Ali Al-Mulla, Ms. Emily Franklin, and Ms. Tonya Sarwar, for their insightful presentations and wealth of knowledge they have shared. Now it is turn for you to share your knowledge. We will be opening the platform for our multi-stakeholder discussion. My colleague, Mr. Charles Coe, the program manager at Dubai Chamber Center for Responsible Business, will be explaining the discussion setup and start the dialogue. He will be supported by my colleagues, Dr. Sangeeta Sharma and Mr. Sayed Atif, program managers at Dubai Chamber Center for Responsible Business. So over to you, Charles.
Sorry, I was on mute then. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today, and thank you, Iman, for the introduction. And thank you also to all of the speakers that have presented today. Very, very interesting presentations. Feeling really refreshed about the topic today, and from learning about the Living Lab and understanding more about cognitive function in the workplace, to learning about the power of data in the wellness initiatives with STEPI, and then also with Tonya from Cisco as well, really addressing the challenge of overcoming culture differences in the workplace, to really use this to embed the technology within the wellness and wellbeing strategy. Very, very interesting topic. So thank you again, everyone, for participating in this. As Iman said, we're now handing over to you, the participants, to really give us the dialogue discussion session. So what we will be doing is we will be asking you 3 questions. We'll be asking, which wellness and wellbeing technologies have you used or experienced? How did you overcome these challenges, and how have you benefited? And now, given the amazing participation in the event today, we have a huge number of participants. We're bringing together the breakout sessions to ask these questions. And the way that we'll be proceeding with the discussions is we will be asking attendees to virtually raise your hand. If you would like to participate and answer these questions, we ask you to virtually raise your hand. Now, you can do this by clicking in the Zoom control panel. You can click the participants icon. And when you select this, the participants window will open. And at the bottom of that window, there is an icon, a button that says raise hand. So we do invite you to begin raising your hands if you would like to address these 3 questions. Again, the questions being, which wellness and wellbeing technologies have you used or experienced? How did you overcome the challenges? And how have you benefited? We have a good 30 to 40 minutes for this session, so we really are looking forward to a very, very engaging dialogue and discussion. And we just request that when in answering these questions, you just answer them within 2-minute time frame, so we can really get through everyone that would like to participate. And also, when we nominate you to do the presentation, if you can unmute yourself, and if you can briefly give us your name and the organization that you represent and your position with the company, that'd be really helpful as well. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes for everyone to start raising their hands when they're familiarizing themselves with the buttons. If you have any issues with trying to find how to raise your hand, please, we have the chat function as well, so you can chat with us on here. We have our colleagues checking and monitoring the chat function, so we're able to take care of this for you. So to begin with, we have Mr. Peter Farrington. I'll just ask you, Peter, if you can, when you're ready, just unmute yourself and then introduce yourself, and then please spend 2 minutes answering these questions. Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning. My name is Peter Farrington. I'm an environmental specialist with Dubai Municipality. I've been in the environment field for about 35 years in several different countries, and happiness and wellness is extremely important to me. And one technology that I feel may not have been addressed while it wasn't was connecting with nature. And this is something that I discovered even again yesterday when I went to My Farm Dubai, which is an organic regenerative farm. As soon as I got there, as per usual, I feel so much better. It only takes a few minutes, and the wellness and the happiness is very powerful. So this is a technology. We can't match nature in terms of technology. It's the most powerful one that we have. And there is a concept called biophilia, which is a theory, not a theory, but it's been proven that people are happiest and healthiest when they're most strongly connected with nature. So this is one that I would like to add. This nature can also be put into your offices as well. And I'll just give an example here. In Oman, when I worked there in Muscat, I worked originally in an office, and it was a stressful office. So the challenge was, how did I overcome? What I did was, when I moved into an office on my own, I ended up actually rearranging the furniture so that people could walk in directly to the window if they wanted. I didn't have my desk blocking it. Also, I was sitting on the side so that people weren't, again, having to talk between a desk and me. But the most important thing I did was I went out and bought on my own 4 or 5 plants, and I put them in the office. And within 2 or 3 days, I had crowds of people literally in my office, always sitting there and enjoying. So again, it was nature and plants that actually improved the happiness and well-being of people. So that's my answer in a nutshell. Nature, please, let's not forget about it.
Thank you, Peter. That's really interesting. And I think, yeah, that really reflects what we've been hearing from the messages from the presenters today as well, which is, yes, we have the technological solutions to really help use data to drive well-being and wellness, but there's that back to the human element and then the natural elements where we need to have these sort of hygiene factors really really catered for. So yeah, thank you for your input. That's really interesting. In terms of the organic regeneration farm, can you give us a little bit more information about what they're doing with the systems that they have there, or the processes? Are they using this to embed it within the workplace as well?
Sure. Right now, he's been working on his farm. He's from France via Morocco. He's a 5th generation farmer, and he's also an engineer, so he understands the technology quite well. So what he is doing is he is growing an incredible variety of plants, mostly for human consumption. And for example, he's got 25 different varieties of basil alone growing on his farm. It's regenerative in terms of he's building the soil. He's using soil. He doesn't use any pesticides at all. He doesn't use any synthetic fertilizers at all. He was growing plants all year round, and he only irrigates for 1 minute a day. And this includes in the summer when temperatures were 60+ degrees. So he's developed a system where he's actually increasing the quality of the soil very, very quickly using food waste and wood waste. And when you go there, the birds, especially at sunset, it's incredible. So his goal really is to enable people to experience what being in nature is like, and also to see all the benefits that one can get from eating properly grown food. And he's got melons from all over the world. It's just amazing when he's there. So when you go there and you visit, and he does a lot of education, a lot of awareness, our goal is to actually introduce this kind of system throughout the UAE and including in Dubai. And it's possible to grow in the city itself, right in downtown, healthy food, and to enable people to connect with nature. So it's a long-term project, but it's a vision.
That's great. Thank you so much, Peter. Very informative answer there. Very interesting topic. And yes, I think it really is very important for us to keep that focus on nature when we're in our workplaces as well. And having that influence can really help refresh the soul in many ways. So thank you very much, Peter.
You're welcome. Sorry, if I could just say one more thing, and that's to do with COVID-19. I think COVID-19 has been, from a nature perspective, a blessing. And it's also a reminder to us not to ignore nature. When we ignore it, these are the sorts of things that can happen. So if we want to just achieve some of the goals that we're talking about today, it's realigning ourselves with nature.
Very true. It's a very good point. Thank you so much for that. And you're right, the context of COVID-19 does really change everything in such a dramatic fashion. So thank you very much for that. We have another hand raised. We have Mr. Michael Harvey. So Michael, if I can ask you to unmute yourself, and then please introduce yourself, where you're from, and if you'd like to address these 3 questions. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Michael Harvey, one of the operations directors of MACE, who are project managers or construction project managers here in, we're global, but here in Dubai, especially, we've been doing some iconic projects as project manager on things like more of the Emirates, JBR. Just currently I'm heading up the Upper District here, which is big towns either side of Burj Khalifa. I think one of the technologies as a business, we've had a lot of stuff in and around Wellbeing. I'm on the operations side, but one of the, what I can talk to is one of the things we have done with technology is to actually use the technology a bit better. It's too easy for people just to get sucked into using email. It goes back to what the lady earlier said about leadership and management. Is the leadership style to enforce that people turn off the email. They actually don't just start emailing each other, but they pick up the phone, talk to each other. So that creates 2 things. One is they can talk through the issue, which is a lot quicker than writing the issue, but also it's about creating that connection again, especially over COVID-19. I get copied into every email, and I was getting something like 1,000 emails a day just being copied in there. So it's just about trying to use the technology, pick up a call, pick up a Zoom call, pick up a Teams call, and try and really work the problem through and try and keep the connection with everybody. And that helps for trying to cut down on stress. You can talk if you talk to each other. Some people could write an email and they write it in the wrong context, and they can create a massive amount of stress. People think they read it and go, and they immediately take it the wrong way, etc. So that's one of the sort of things I just talk about. I think that's a benefit, and I think that must be put front and center, is that we must not, whilst we are not physically all together, in an office space, we must maintain that connection, which is very important. I think that has to be done by talking to each other and just keep picking up and having virtual coffees, virtual discussions, which I think that's one of the sort of the key things we've done, is that it's when everyone's went apart, we initially found the emails spiked up, but actually during the COVID-19, I think I probably got closer to some of my team and spoke more to my team members via Microsoft Teams than I would do when they were sitting in office 20, 30 meters away from me. So I think that's where one of the things about wellbeing, and that's what we've really tried to do within the business, is to really make sure people do stay communicated with each other, whether it's, and that is just chew the fat, talk about football, talk about whatever you want to talk about, just to try and keep connections going. Don't get sucked into emails, etc. So that's probably one of the things we've really driven for as a business over COVID-19.
Really good point to make there, Michael. Thank you very much. And you're right, it's such a crucial time to stay in touch. I guess just a sort of follow-up question then, do you find then from the team's perspective, by retaining these social connections, albeit virtually, how are you finding the sort of the levels of stress and levels of productivity? Are you noticing there's this benefit that you're seeing across the team and the projects that you're working on?
I think the team is still very productive. We have shown that there was, and this is one of the interesting things coming out of COVID, and especially not putting up the greatest things, that when you work for a company that builds office buildings and does all that sort of stuff, that it proves the point that maybe all this, there's going to have to be a rethink of the workplace, because people have stayed together, and we have managed to, there's always a perception that you must, and some of the sort of the clients insist that you must come to my office to talk, and that was how it was before, and so much time was wasted. But now with the technology and email and WeTransfers and FTP sites, etc., everything, business can stay together, and you can get through a lot of work. The one thing we have noticed is that we've now have the Microsoft Teams burnout, where people could start a Teams call at 8 and finish at 6 o'clock, back to back. So that's one thing that has been driven through, that people must take time away, must step away. If you're at home, go and sit in your balcony and go and sit in your garden, have a sandwich, take time out. But that's been the stress as people have become a lot, because they can be a bit more productive, they can just jump from one team to another. They'll have to be careful that people don't have burnout that way. Whereas if you were driving between offices, you have that bit of downtime. So that's some of the different stresses now.
That's very interesting. Thank you. I guess that delicate balance between the use of technology in our day-to-day lives, in this case for work, but then also taking that time to ensure that we, on a personal level and a psychological level, that we're getting what we need. So yeah, very interesting. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. We also have now another hand raised. We have Pam Durant. So Pam, can I ask you please, yes, unmute yourself and introduce yourself, and please answer the questions.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Pam Durant, and my company is DiaPoint. And I'm actually a certified wellness and lifestyle medicine coach. So when it comes to using the different technologies, and, it's one thing to give advice, but also to follow that advice that you give and that can be oh so challenging. But as far as wellness technology and what I've used, what I really enjoyed, that really surprised me, was an app for, with different exercise classes on it. One of the very well-known ones. I've tried several different ones. Some will resonate with one person and not with another, but I really enjoyed that. And then when we went into lockdown, I discovered that I could actually be dependent on myself to exercise. It didn't always have to be a social thing. I think for a lot of us, it is social, and that's one of the great things about it. But I love how the Dubai Fitness Challenge has made even the virtual social. So I think that's super important in overcoming a challenge. And one challenge I see, I think everyone in this call is interested in wellness and well-being and in corporate life. But a lot of companies, especially now that they're struggling with COVID, that's the first thing to go sometimes, is investment in different programs. So I'm really happy that you all are doing this to focus on the importance of it. And I absolutely agree with you about nature, going low tech. And I've always loved gardening. Even if you don't have a garden, you can garden in pots, and it's super relaxing and amazing. So when we can get outside walking, I adopted a dog, and he's great because I have to go out now. So how have I benefited? I've benefited because I've been able to look more inward and become more self-sufficient. And I've also benefited in that I've learned how to become social digitally. However, another technology that I have used is an app to measure my social media time, because too much social media is not always healthy. And when you see it and you have the number and you see how many hours a day that you've been on your phone, it's shocking. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Pam. That's, again, another very interesting point. I think social media, it's a new angle to introduce here. And I think that's a very good point. And having it matched with this sort of journey of self-sufficientness and being able to soothe the soul during these lockdown times, I think that's a very, very poignant message to keep, because with the introduction of more technologies, there's more of that encroachment into our everyday lives, whether it's in work, like what Michael was saying, whether it's outside of work, in our social life as well. So I'm really enjoying this discussion. We're going for the low tech solutions, like we're saying, the back to nature, like to Peter's point, and also the like Pam as well, with creating green spaces for yourself. I think that's a very, very clear message that's coming through from this dialogue, and it's something I will certainly take away with me as well. And maybe I'll go buy some flower seeds on my way home, so I can start potting some seeds in my balcony as well, especially as the weather is so nice. Very, very interesting dialogue. Thank you so much, everyone. So unless if anyone is interested to raise their hand and maybe address these questions as well, we can look to start concluding the session and wrapping up the session. So I'll just leave it open just for one more minute, and then after this time, if no one else would like to address these questions, I'll hand you back to Aman, and she will conclude today's event for this morning. Just checking the chat. Thank you also everyone who's been very active on the chat window as well. We've been enjoying getting your feedback and your comments on this one. Okay, so as far as we can see it now, I don't think any more hands are being raised. So what I'll do is I will conclude the dialogue session now. Thank you everyone for participating. Peter, Michael, Pam, very interesting points. Thank you very much. And so I would like to now hand you back over to Aman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles and team. This concludes our event for today. I'd like to thank all our participants for attending today's multi-stakeholder event and your valuable contributions during the discussion. And I hope those who attended benefited from both the case studies and the multi-stakeholder discussion. We are also going to have a concluding ceremony on the 12th of November to celebrate the achievements of Sustainability Week. We hope to see you there, and hope you can spread the word as well. Thank you very much again, and we wish you a lovely day.